History is surrounded by many mysteries. People in history lived through many struggles. They lived in the midst of the Black Death and other diseases, but the Black Death was not just one. Many diseases surrounded people at that time, most of which are strange. So in today's video, we will look at 7 strange diseases in history. But before I start, if you are new to the channel and love history, definitely subscribe to the History Facts Show and press the bell icon. Thank you. Number 1. The Sweating Sickness. The sweating sickness was a deadly disease that struck England and parts of Europe in the 15th and 16th centuries. It appeared suddenly, killed quickly, and then disappeared just as mysteriously. Scientists still don't know exactly what caused it. The disease came in waves between 1485 and 1551. It was the most deadly in England, especially among the wealthy and those living in crowded cities. In 1485, first recorded outbreak in England, shortly after Henry VIII became king. In 1517, major outbreaks spread across England and into parts of Europe. In 1528, one of the deadliest waves, even reaching Germany, Switzerland, and the Netherlands. And in 1551, the last known outbreak. After this, the disease vanished forever. Even today, we don't know exactly what caused the sweating sickness. Unlike the bubonic plague, the sweating sickness didn't cause swollen lymph nodes or black spots on the skin. It also affected the rich more than the poor, possibly because they lived in close quarters. The sweating sickness killed people within hours, had no known cure, and disappeared without explanation. Number 2. Exploding Teeth Syndrome. Exploding teeth syndrome is a rare and strange phenomenon where people reported that their teeth suddenly shattered or exploded in their mouths, sometimes with a loud noise. This was mainly recorded in the 19th and early 20th centuries. It is not a recognized medical condition today, but historical reports suggest it may have happened to a few unlucky individuals. People who experience exploding teeth syndrome describe sudden intense pain in a tooth and a loud cracking or popping sound. The tooth breaking apart violently, sometimes into tiny pieces. No clear cause or warning before the explosion. Even though there is no confirmed explanation, scientists and historians have suggested a few possible reasons. Infected teeth might have developed bacterial gases inside. If these gases build up too much pressure, the tooth could crack or explode. In 1817, a clergyman in Pennsylvania claimed his tooth exploded with a pistol-like sound after days of extreme pain. In 1830s, a woman in the US reported her tooth shattered so violently that she heard the sound through her entire head. Exploding teeth syndrome is not a common condition today, and many modern dentists are skeptical that it ever happened. However, historical records suggest it might have been a real phenomenon caused by poor dental practices, infections, or even strange chemical reactions. Number 3. The Vampire Panic. One of the main causes of vampire fears were tuberculosis, which was called consumption at the time. Since people didn't understand how TB spread, they assumed that the dead were feeding on their family members from the grave. Other diseases that might have contributed to vampire fears include rabies, causes aggression, biting, and fear of sunlight, similar to vampire myths. Porphyria, a rare disease that makes the skin sensitive to sunlight, sometimes leading to disfigurement. When people dug up graves to check for vampires, they sometimes found fresh-looking corpses in cold weathers. Bodies decay more slowly. This made it seem like the person wasn't truly dead. Due to natural decomposition, fluids can leak from the mouth, looking like the corpse had been feeding. Gas build-up in the body after death made it seem like the corpse was full of blood. Since people didn't understand decomposition, they assumed these bodies were undead vampires. One of the most famous vampire panics happened in New England, USA. In the 1800s, many families suffering from TB believed that their relatives were attacking the livings. In places like Romania, Serbia, and Hungary, vampire beliefs were strong. People dug up graves and performed rituals to kill vampires. The vampires' panic was a real historical event, but it was caused by disease, misunderstanding of death, and fear rather than real vampires. Today we see it as an example of how people try to explain things they don't understand. Number 4. Epidemic of phantom pregnancies. A phantom pregnancy, also called pseudocyesis, is when a person has all the symptoms of pregnancy without actually being pregnant. One of the well-documented cases of an epidemic of phantom pregnancies occurred in France during the 18th century. Many women in the same region, mostly nuns, suddenly started experiencing symptoms of pregnancy at the same time. Historians and medical experts have different theories about why so many women experience phantom pregnancies together. Extreme stress or emotional trauma can sometimes cause hormonal changes, leading to pregnancy-like symptoms. This wasn't the only case in history. Other instances of mass phantom pregnancies have been reported, including among royal women who desperately wanted to have an heir. One famous case was Queen Mary I of England, who believed she was pregnant twice but never gave birth. Number 5. The Barking Plague of Germany. The Barking Plague was a mysterious illness that reportedly affected people in parts of Germany during the 15th and 16th centuries. Unlike typical diseases that cause fever, rashes, or death, this condition made people behave in a very strange way. They would bark like dogs. Even though the disease was recorded in historical documents, scientists today don't know exactly what caused it. The Barking Plague disappeared over time, just like the sweating sickness. Number 6. The Laughing Epidemic. The laughing epidemic was a real-life outbreak of uncontrollable laughter that happened in 1962 in a small village in what is now Tanzania, East Africa. The laughter spread from person to person and lasted for months, affecting many people. The strange event began on January 13, 1962, at a girls' boarding school in a small village called Kasasa. After the school closed, the affected students went home to their villages. There, the laughter spread to family members, neighbors, and nearby villages. This was not a happy kind of laughter. It was uncontrollable and exhausting, sometimes leading to pain and even fainting. Doctors and scientists investigated but found no virus, bacteria, or poison. Instead, they believed it was a case of mass psychogenic illness, also known as mass hysteria. The epidemic eventually faded on its own. Schools and villages slowly returned to normal as people became less afraid of the laughter. Since there was no real disease, there was no need for medicine or treatment. And the last one, number 7. Meowing Nuns. The Meowing Nuns is a bizarre historical event that happened in medieval France. It was a case of mass hysteria, where a group of nuns in a convent started mewing like cats for no clear reason. In a convent, one nun started mewing like a cat. Soon other nuns joined in, and the entire convent was filled with mewing sounds. The nuns would mew together for hours at specific times of the day. Eventually, soldiers were sent to threaten punishment, and the mewing stopped. Back then, people didn't understand psychological disorders. Today, historians and psychologists believe this was a case of mass hysteria. At first, the nuns were simply left alone, but as the mewing got louder and distributed the community, authorities stepped in. Soldiers were sent to the convent, and they warned the nuns that if they continued, they would be wiped or punished. After this, the mewing stopped. The Meowing Nuns is one of history's strangest cases of mass hysteria. It shows how stress, strict religious life, and medieval beliefs could lead to bizarre group behaviors. Even today, similar cases of mass panic or hysteria happen, proving that the human mind can be deeply influenced by emotions and surroundings. So, how did you like today's video? Don't forget to comment and let us know what other strange historical events you want to know. See you with another video. Stay tuned.